I am resident of Colorado for YouTube, Joel Sands. That is Vickie Ray. That is Tom Diamond. We are here to review the Time Tunnel. We're going to do it by episode. Episode 1, which features the Titanic, which I love the set designs of the show already, Tom and Vickie. Very good, interesting set designs. Fox did this, actually, which I was shocked to learn. So when did you both first watch this, Vickie?
That's really not an easy question to ask a woman. You're going to be showing my age. Actually, I watched this, all that shit, Land of the Giants, all that crap when I was little. Loved it. Always loved it. I vaguely remember this one. I don't remember this one. It didn't make the impression on me, my 5-year-old brain, like the other one did. But it was really nice revisiting this, and it was nice to see, all the old sets. And they was really quite ingenious. He utilized everything from Hollywood to make it as cheap as he could. He used old sets. He used stock footage. I mean, it was quite brilliant. And I was just kind of disappointed to realize there's only 30 episodes. Because I could really get into this. It's like and he didn't really persevere. They offered to let him have a second season, but he had to cut the budget by a third, and he said, no bueno, so the rest is history. But
that was one of the things.
Yeah.
But the other thing was, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
But the other thing was that, that's all right. The other thing was that actually it was pretty solid in the ratings, but they had a suit on ABC, and he was pulling for this series called Custer. And,
yes. Oh my God! What were they thinking? I mean, I was watching it. They only did 17 episodes because it was so effing bad. And they put it in the Friday time slot, which this show actually did good on a Friday time slot, remarkably.
Mm-hmm.
If they'd only done it like on a Wednesday or a Thursday, this show would have never been canceled. Never.
Well, the thing is, Friday especially was the 10 o'clock on Friday night, where they used to call it the suicide slot.
Yeah.
If you put a program on there. And that was one of the big things with Star Trek, the third season.
Yeah, exactly.
NBC wanted it. NBC had wanted to cancel it the second season. Got all the fans riled up. And so they brought it back for the third season, but it was a Friday night at 10 o'clock when everybody was going out and dates. So they didn't have enough people that wanted to watch that. But the Time Tunnel was lucky in that it got a Friday 8 o'clock slot right after the Green Hornet. The Green Hornet was at 7:30.
Yeah, that's right, the Green Hornet. Oh my God, I'm really just feeling
old
here.
With Van Williams and Cato and
Cato.
Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
Bruce Lee played Cato. But the thing about the Time Tunnel that I really, the first episode was really one of the best. Irwin Allen directed it. They had a much bigger set for the first episode than they did for some of the subsequent episodes,
something like that?
They had a smaller. Yeah,
they did downsize
they downsized it because it was
enormous.
Yep, they did.
That thing, I was wondering when I was watching, did they make that thing? Was that big? But I mean, it was pretty cool. I didn't like historical accuracy, but I mean, kind of historical. I mean, there was a lot of artistic license. I was a history person at college and stuff.
Something,
It's the 60s. Shut up.
No. They went ahead and
teachers actually used to use this in their classrooms. I read, because that made kids interested in learning about history. So it was kind of cool like that back then. It was kind of ahead of its time, because then when we got Quantum Leap, we got Voyagers. What was the other one that came after that? There was another one.
Timeless.
Yes, there was a couple of them that came.
Which
this kind of
more
inspired.
Recent. Quantum Leap. Well, you said Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap lasted like
but
5 years.
A lot of what I loved was that psychedelic trip through time, where he goes through the time barrier, and you see all these psychedelic colors, And I never tried an acid trip, but I would think that if you tried an acid trip, that would be a pretty good one. Let me tell you something.
It's never too
Flying through
late,
that
Tom.
stuff.
It's never too late to take it.
Oh, see that?
I know I can hook you up.
She's ruining me. She's ruining me. Come down
We'll
to
have to
Florida
do
to visit
Book
me
a
and
whole
we'll
trip
talk.
some night and do this. It'll be more fun.
Side deals and side conversations in Florida with Vickie and Tom. Yeah, there you go.
It was just an aside. No, he's right though. I mean, it was pretty cool how they did this.
It was kaleidoscopic, really.
It was.
And,
it was.
And I.
Well, it was
and
the 60s.
I enjoyed that. And the first episode really has close-ups of Tony and Doug going through the time barrier, and in subsequent episodes they just pulled back and had a general shot of the two of them. Right. But in the first episode they had, and then there was another episode where they did that with a guest star, and I'm not going to spill the beans.
Don't ruin it. Yeah, we still got to go through a few.
But I liked it well, first of all, you have Michael Rennie from The Day the Earth Stood Still, and he was the captain. And then Susan Hampshire, who was the English. She was a noted British actress in the 60s. Like my Sharon says, once you get a job in Britain as an actor or an actress, you've got that job for life, because there aren't a lot of them over there. And so Susan Hampshire was, and she played the piano pretty well, if that was her. I was a bit surprised. There we are.
It looked like she was playing.
It looks like, it looks like the internet is having fun with us. But the essence of the episode introduces Robert Colbert, who's still alive, 93. Yeah. And James Darren just passed away last year.
Lee Merriweather's still alive.
88. Lee Merriweather is still alive.
I didn't know she was Miss America 10 years before. I didn't know she was Miss America before. Interesting. Did not know that.
1955. 1955. And,
you could tell she was the way she smiles. I mean, she just has a presence. She just does. She always did, though.
But I always liked her as Anne, because she was the atheist of the show, and you'll see that later on in one of the episodes where she goes ahead and where they go back in time to a biblical era, and I'm not going to go into that too much. But you're going to see that some of the episodes of the Time Tunnel are not as good as the others. For one thing, further on in the series, they started to use characters that they borrowed from Lost in Space. So you can see some of those aliens that remind you of Dr. Smith and Will Robinson and all that kind of stuff. And
he was doing everything he could for budget. That was one of the most expensive shows that they had going at the time.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Those are expensive sets. He spared no expense.
What's interesting is in the Time Tunnel DVD, they actually have home movies that I think, home movies on the set that, what's his name? Irwin Allen's wife took. And it shows them on the Titanic. They had like a seesaw set on the Titanic, so people were going back and forth, and you see him directing and telling people where to go, and it's quite interesting, because that was really the only episode that he directed. After that, he left it to other, and that's a shame, I think if he had directed more episodes, it probably would have had his touch to it. This one was clearly the best in terms of an introductory episode. You've got John Zaramba as Dr. Swain, and Whit Bissell, straight out of the Time Machine, as if you remember, Whit Bissell was one of the characters in the 1960 Time Machine, and he played General Woody Kirk.
That's right.
That's right, and he was in the Time Machine in 1960, and he played
right.
one of the doctors that Rod Taylor spoke with, and later on, actually, the Time Tunnel did. The Time Tunnel. There was a sequel to the Time Machine, something like 30 years later. It was just like a short episode. But Rod Taylor and Whit Bissell.
Did they ever make it?
Yeah, they did. Rod Taylor and Whit Bissell. You have to look it up on the internet. Rod Taylor, Whit Bissell, and Alan Young got together and reprised their roles. And I used to love. Yeah, I used to love Alan Young. George, destroy it, George. Destroy it before it destroys you. Yeah. It was Mary and I were taking care of the baby. No, that was cute. I liked a lot. I like this. There are some good episodes that do follow, and there's some surprises in store.
I like how they can see what's going on. I'm still trying to figure out how they got a camera so they could see what's going on. I guess they pinpoint the person for their DNA or whatever because of their radioactive bath.
It's that bath. It's that.
It's like, yes, we got to take a radioactive bath before we go into time so you can track me. It's like, okay.
That's right. Be sure to bring dial soap. So we had the radioactive. So you have the radioactive bath, which essentially allows the tunnel to home in on where they are and when they are, and so forth. And later on, they're going to add other stuff to it, like they're going to be able to talk to them from the tunnel. And I don't want to get into too much. If it had gone on to a second year, and I think it was Robert Covert who was interviewed, they were going to bring them back to the.
They were going to try to solve history's problems too. They were going to try to do that. But I don't think, in theory, you're not supposed to do that, though. It never works out. Everybody knows that. It never works out.
Because you can't change history. You can try to change history, and that was the main focus of the first episode. They tried to avert the Titanic from crashing into the iceberg, which had like a little door. I couldn't get over that miniature of the iceberg. It seemed to have a little door in the middle. I thought it was like the Fortress of Solitude from the Superman era.
Well, they did use a lot of the same stuff, a lot of the same sets. I mean, they used the 1953 Titanic movie for their stock footage.
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean,
that's interesting. And they're going to go and they went for a lot of stock footage in order to save money. And that was, I think,
they used World War II, a lot of World War II surplus equipment too. They weren't stupid. They got their hands on all kinds of stuff, actual military electronics.
Mm-hmm. Two good World War II episodes are coming up, and I'm not going to go into them, but they used a lot of that footage, and they used a lot of that. They used a lot of those tanks and stuff like that. Who the hell knows where they got them? But I like they had as a comedic thing. They had the little French kid who was stealing from his
food and stuff.
Yeah, Little Marcel, I think his name was.
Yeah, well, you knew that was going to happen because people, I don't think things were as good in steerage as it was, in first or second class. So.
Oh, before I want to forget, the guy who played the guard uh, with the door, the room that Tony was being held, the guy who played the guard is the same actor that played Lieutenant Kyle on Star Trek.
Cool. Yeah, I see that.
In the transporter room. So you had an interesting cast. I think the senator, everybody hated him because he wanted to pull the plug on a $6.5 billion project, and probably take a cut himself. But they basically got him out after the first episode, which was a good thing. If it had gone on to the second year, I would have liked to have seen him again. But I think it was
going to be too grim of a storyline to have the Titanic. They almost didn't do it. But Urban Allen
really
the story, yeah, because he argued universal recognition and drama were ideal for a pilot.
That's interesting, because.
Well, let's see. It was like 50 years after the fact when, really wasn't a lot. I mean, that time, think about it. That time frame was closer to the Titanic sinking than all the way to now. So I could see where people might be a little disturbed by it. People were still alive that were on it, I guess,
Well, there may have been survivors. What's that, Jewel?
I said you can find interviews on YouTube of people who survived it, which I'll leave a link in the description box for that because that goes good with
fascinating.
Yeah,
it is. Let's listen to like what they saw and what happened that night, because what a story, can you imagine? And then they have Captain Smith asking, well, I suppose I die in this episode. It's like, well, yeah, you don't do too well. Like, sorry, but yeah, you die.
But in a sense, what I like about that, though, it brings a sense of reality to it. Like, because Captain Smith historically went down with the ship. It's
right.
If you alter history here, it's too much. I like that they don't because it gives that sense of, okay, they can't fix everything.
No.
And I do like how they did the French kid, the British girl. They had different nationalities on board the ship, which would make sense.
Right. Because it was an international ship, essentially.
Yeah.
It's interesting they have that placard that took off from Belfast, Ireland. I think that was the correct date. The only thing was the first name of the captain was different from the one that they used. But they just took a little license there. Every once in a while, they took some license, to make things more interesting. Although I have no idea why they used that. But I think Michael Rennie was excellent in that. The nice tense moment where he says, "And I suppose you'll be able to tell me," when he's talking to Doug, "I suppose you'll be able to tell me if I will be one of the survivors of the Titanic, or if I will die tonight."
What were they trying to do? What were they? They were trying to tell the other boats that they had distress. Is that what they were doing to get them to come earlier to pay attention?
In the room where they're wiring for the distress, they're wiring the ships to come near the Titanic to rescue them, to basically avert disaster, make sure they don't. And the captain calls it off and throws out the newspaper.
Okay, yeah,
which is a copy from the future.
Disregarding them then after the point.
Yep. It's
giving him.
Can you imagine
giving him a paper from
that? It save all those people. It's like, what a horrible way to die.
750 survivors. And I think that John Jacob Astor was one of the people.
They were really arrogant.
Oh, yeah. John Jacob Astor was one of the people who didn't survive.
Yeah, that was wild about him. There's so much sketch shit that went on with the Titanic and stuff. I mean, it makes you wonder some of the conspiracy theories about some of the people that were on it and were involved, like the Rothschilds. And, you want to go down that rabbit hole. It's kind of interesting. I don't deny there's some plausible interest there.
Is this your
gotta
favorite?
wonder.
What's your favorite ship sinking historically? What's the one that?
My favorite mine?
Yeah, always.
Well, there's the Andrea Doria. That one I find fascinating. Well, I had relatives that actually came over on the Andrea Doria, so.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, not when it sank. I was talking to my mother. My father was buried just recently, and there was some of the old Italians still alive, and a lot of them came over on the Andrea Doria, and I was asking them. There's quite a few came, and then that following year,
Wow.
I guess that's when it did its thing. And then I guess Geraldo just never had any luck with that safe after the fact. Remember Geraldo was trying to open the safe to the Andrea Doria? There wasn't jack in it.
Tom, what's your favorite ship sinking? You got one?
You really caught me between a rock and a hard place there, but my first thought is the Lusitania.
Yes!
Which was shot, which was during World War One, I think, or right before World War One. The Lusitania, and that was
there was three ships
disaster.
of the Titanic. What was there? There was the Titanic. There was the Britannia. What was the other one?
Britannic?
No, there was that one, but there was another one. The Titanic, Britannia. What was the other one?
The Olympia? Was it?
The Olympia.
Queen Mary.
Yeah.
But there was three, the White Star Line, and they all had bad luck. All of them had something happen to it.
That's interesting.
And it cost.
I'm thinking actually the past 2 days we had that Mexican Navy ship that crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah. I know, I saw that. It's like, what?
They were going the wrong way.
I posted a video of that. I go, because I know I've got friends in New York still. I go, somebody tell me what the hell's going on. I go, sounds like a party to me. That's all I was saying.
The Brooklyn Bridge, of all things.
On X, somebody put that's how Conan, who's a Mexican wrestler, would book a Mexican takeover in wrestling. And I'm like, what? Like, what? Like, that's crazy. But yeah, I saw that video. I'm like, wow, that's nuts. They just.
Well, I said they just didn't stop. They just kept going. It's like, what's going on, dudes? Calm down.
Slow down. There is a speed limit for everything.
Then you had the monitor in the Merrimack. Yeah. And that was from the 19th century.
That's interesting. I was watching a show about that the other day ago. I mean, those were some weird looking, metal behemoths. I mean, that was just some weird science going on back in the Civil War. I mean, with those two things, it's a really curious, interesting piece of history, though. But as far as they said they turned this pilot into a movie, I guess, because they didn't know what else to do with it at some point, and they made it into like a small movie. The pilot of this. The pilot. To the first episode of Time Tunnel, they made like a small mini movie out of it. So, but I didn't understand how they did that. I couldn't find it.
Was that? It's the same thing. It was the same episode, and they just
they added commercials, I guess, to make it longer. They added I think they did have some scenes in there that they did not divest into the original.
They did, of course, try to bring it back in 2002.
Yeah, which really, I guess, didn't work at all. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that really.
And that's something maybe at the end of this. At the end of this, maybe Jewel, we can. That's on YouTube, and we can discuss that, because that was an interesting. That was more like a sliders time tunnel, in that they were thrust into a world where history had changed, and it really looked like they stole stuff from sliders, like the green light meaning stop and the red light meaning go, and stuff like that. And the idea was to try and correct the mistakes that have been made, that had changed history. So in that version, history was changed, and not for the better. In the canon, as far as time tunnel is concerned, you can try to change history, but you can't. It'll be fit in. It'll fit in somewhere into the scheme of things. But some good guest stars coming up in the upcoming episodes, and the the series, the special effects of the 800 floors and going down, all that. Uh, that was also tremendous. I think the special
882 floors,
effects.
wasn't it? Something like
It was
882.
882 floors. I thought it was 800. I bowed to that, Vickie. 882 floors.
Oh, I don't
I
know. I
thought it
could
was
be
800
wrong. I come
floors.
up, my ADHD brain comes up with its own thing
I
sometimes.
thought it
So
was 800 floors. Well, you maybe counted them. That was 800 floors for each complex. So you can just imagine $6 billion back in the 1960s. $6.5 billion would be what now?
God.
Uh, it would be hundreds of millions. I would think if they did something like that. But the only thing I'm just curious as to why they set it in Arizona rather than anywhere else. What made Arizona the choice for them to go ahead?
It's dry.
I'm glad they said it in Arizona, because you know what my favorite thing about westerns is? Desert porn. Okay, I
Desert
love
porn.
naked desert. Okay, beautiful sand.
Well, there you got it. Well, there you got it.
Yes, I love the opening of it. It's like sand. We get desert sand.
That's true. That's true.
It's beautiful.
There was definitely a message there.
And they go back to Arizona in a few other episodes. Although it's not exactly where it's not exactly 1968, but they go in other periods and areas of time. So I think that it's I think that it's a I think that it's a great start to and the series still has a cult following.
It does. I
And
saw that.
yeah, it still has a cult following, and
Did you guys think there was a little Cold War like anxiety in here still? Remember the Cold War?
A bit, yeah.
probably.
I'm just
In fact,
wondering.
one of the episodes deals with that. I'm not going to say which, but one of
Okay,
the
I was just
episodes
wondering
deals
because
with
it
the
seemed
Cold
like
War.
this was definitely Cold War-ish to me, because I still remember the Cold War. There's probably a lot of people here. It's like, what the hell, Cold War? Well, you know what I mean.
When the guy says about like cutting funding or just pulling the funding and like keeping it for himself, there's a part of it that's greedy, but there's part of it that's like, wait, does this have anything to do with what's going on in the outside world, post Cold War stuff like that? So you're questioning that in a sense, you know. You're questioning.
Well, you have to go ahead with the episodes, and you'll actually see an episode which deals with the Cold War. So hang out for that.
Cool.
That was the only episode I did. I saw it when I was a kid. At the time it was first on, and that was the only episode I missed. And years later, I caught it, and it was kind of like it wasn't a great episode, but it was kind of like a treat for me, because I finally completed the viewing that I had of the show, and I think that if the time tunnel, even we're talking about a parallel universe, finding a Tony and Doug in a parallel universe in another season. Had they gone to another season of the time,
They could probably hook up with Doctor Who with all the, you can almost see Doctor Who where they got some of their stuff from. And you can always see two protagonists jumping into a time tunnel. Though it was always two people after that, you know.
But can you imagine evil Tony and Doug?
Gave it a nod, huh?
Can you imagine evil Tony and Doug,
Yeah.
and an evil time tunnel?
Well, it
That's
could be. Did they do that in Star Trek? You had the good Star, you had
yep.
the good
Yeah.
Captain Kirk. And I really liked the bad Sulu the most in that one, though, because Sulu was
Yeah,
such an
mirror, mirror.
asshole
Yeah,
anyway. It just intensified his personality being the bad Sulu. And he was really horny. Remember, he liked Lieutenant O'Hara. He wouldn't leave her alone.
hmm
I
In
just
fact,
I gotta start watching that again.
I don't know if
I
you've heard of
can't
it, Vicky.
remember every episode.
Have you ever heard of Star Trek Continues? Because
No, that's
that's something you should see. The fans got together, volunteer a lot of them. They rebuilt the sets from scratch.
yeah.
They're
Those are some
actually
diehard
with
people too.
they there was incredible what they did. And Vic Mignogna, who
Respect
played the
completely.
captain, did the he did the business dealings, and they came up with I think 11 episodes, and one of them was a sequel to Mirror Mirror. It's called The Fairest of Them All, and it deals with whatever happened. I mean, Kirk and company returned to their normal universe. Well, what happened in the mirror universe after they left? And that
Right.
episode deals with that, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
I'll check it out.
It's really, really good.
That
Uh,
definitely is a lost era. I mean, they just don't. I mean, I know the kids want all the special effects now and all the CGI and AI, but God, they just don't write scripts like that anymore. They just don't do that anymore.
no,
It's
they
just
don't. They really went out of their way, and even the special effects with the time tunnel. I mean, the blue mist and everything, and the explosions and all, and
yeah.
it was really the red alert thing. It just all came together, and
But they had earlier drafts of this pilot where they encountered Nikola Tesla and J.P. Morgan on the Titanic, and they
really,
wanted to set up a technology versus power conflict, but these were scrapped due to time constraints and budget. That would have been cool.
that's great. That's great. That's a good
But
pickup.
how
I
did
didn't know
Tesla get
about
on the
that.
Titanic, though? That
Wow,
would have been,
wow,
yeah,
wow.
interesting.
That would
Would
have
have
been
been an
interesting.
interesting take, yeah.
But
The
they
show.
only had an hour to do it, and it really should have
Yeah.
been a 2 hour movie. It really should have been a 2 hour movie. It
They
really
cut
would have
so
been.
much out. There was a lot of stuff that ended up on the floor.
What's that?
There was a lot of stuff they cut from the script.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would think they did. I would think
And
they
I didn't
did.
know James Darren did a lot of his own stunts and things like that.
Yes, he did. He was, and of course, he was on Deep Space Nine. He was Vic
That's right.
Fontaine, and he felt that was some of the best work he ever did. And actually, I'm binging on Deep Space Nine myself. I haven't seen it since it was first on, and I can't wait to get to his. I can't wait to get to his.
He had quite a colorful career.
What's
I mean,
that?
he had a colorful career. He didn't.
It was a very colorful career. Very colorful career. And he grew up in the same neighborhood as Fabian and
Yeah.
Dion and Philadelphia and stuff. And he was saying that was the kind of neighborhood that you really wanted to get out of there and make it somehow.
Yeah.
And he was, and he originally got into the movies. He had an appointment with this agent, and the story was he was going up in the elevator, and the agent was in the elevator, and she's staring at him, and he's staring at her. And they didn't know each other, and then they went out. They went out into the same office, and then he got a job a week later. So he had magnetism. He had
Yeah.
Jimmy Darren had a lot of, and an Italian. I think his real name was Ercolino. Uh, it was something like that,
Something like
and
that.
but he was pure. He was pure Italian, Vicky, and He was, but
Didn't Robert Colbert do a couple of Universal monster movies? I want to think for some reason.
what's this?
Robert Colbert, Doug Phillips. Didn't he do some
Robert
Universal
Colbert.
monster movies? I keep thinking
I'm
I've seen
not
him.
aware of it. I'm not aware of it. I
Maybe
know
he's just got one of those faces because I've been hitting the Universal
he was in
monster.
a couple of westerns. He was in
I've
was
seen
it
him in stuff,
Maverick?
though. I mean, I'm trying to place him,
Was
but
it
he's been in quite
Maverick
a bit.
or was he played the third brother in one of the Western TV shows for 2 episodes, and I think it was Maverick or something like that. But
Brent Maverick.
uh,
Yeah.
what is it?
Brent Maverick.
Brett?
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That was Robert Colbert. And what else was he? What else was he in? He was in an FBI episode that I remember in '65. I was watching, I was binging
And
on
you got a
the old
good memory.
FBI with Ephraim Zimbalist. The old FBI with Ephraim Zimbalist, and he was on an old episode. So was Lee
The
Merriweather.
Ephraim Zimbalist, the one that was blinking in code when he was captured. That
Something
Ephraim
like that.
Zimbalist. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
talking about. When he was captured, he was blinking in Morse code. Oh, it's like, oh, yeah, it was an amazing story. I don't remember it all completely, but it's a fascinating story.
Yeah, yeah.
When did
Those
the
guns
kiddies go
look.
to the city?
The only thing I was a little disappointed, those guns looked like phony cap guns.
Cat guns,
When he took
sort
them
of
out,
like
pointed them at the people
Buck
who
Rogers.
were people who were doing the Morse code. And Tony pointed the gun at him. Looked like you could start chewing it as a licorice toy, or
Right.
something like that. But we joke about it, but it's I haven't seen anything, even with Timeless, and Timeless tried, and you got to give Timeless credit, but I haven't seen anything that's come up to the level of the Time Tunnel.
I think Loki's did that too.
With the good episodes.
Yeah.
Julie, you never saw the Time Tunnel before. How far are you along? Is just the
I
first
just
episode right now?
Yeah, I'm going by episodes. So I just watched this one because I want to be surprised.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
what I'm doing. I'm not going to hit it. Normally, I would have binged that shit all in one day, but I'm going to show restraint.
Yeah,
No,
I want to be surprised by what I see and react naturally as to.
Yeah, I'd like to.
That's a good idea.
You know,
That's a good idea.
Because I do
It
love
was such good stuff back then, though.
I do love
I'm not going to
the
say anything
design
about
here.
the next one.
And they did a really great job with it. I love the time machine they used because I love how they're communicating with them. And that was such a neat trick back then to be able to pull off and stuff with set designs and all that.
There's set designs like where they're looking down into the whole complex. I was quite a bit. That wasn't bad for 1966. I was like, well, that really wasn't bad at all. They did. I mean, I could see where his sets were expensive.
September 9th, 1966 is when this debuted. So.
That's right. You could get dizzy looking down at all that. Can you imagine?
Well, it's got like a ridiculous amount of floors, subterranean city research, whatever. I mean, it's a cool idea. I mean,
must have cost years to build it. Well, they built it in 1958, I believe, and that's something else you're going to see, which I'm not going to. I'm revealing too much, but the best thing. I agree with you, Jules. The best thing to do is just watch each episode as it comes, enjoy it for what it's worth, and criticize it for what it's worth because they weren't all the caliber of this first one.
No, there's sort of like Dark Shadows. There was some days we just take the piss out of whatever episode we were watching because it was so bad. It's like, what were you doing?
That's a good point.
I think that's the thing too. The shows that in the 60s, they worked with what they had. And you're not, every show, are you going to get perfection? Hell no. Not every
They're
episode.
improvising like crazy,
Right.
especially Dark Shadows. That was like improvising like to a painful existence. I mean, he was like Dan Curtis was merciless. So I mean, that must have just been what they did back then, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They all did it. They all wanted to produce the best thing they could produce, but my God, they made everybody suffer in the interim. They just did.
Both ABC, by the way. So that's
Yes.
interesting. ABC was willing to take more risks, I think, with the science fiction. Whereas aside from Lost in Space, CBS just went with Beverly Hillbillies and Green Acres.
That was because of Donna Douglas.
Petticoat Junction.
I used to love Petticoat Junction. Oh my God. I used to love when they'd all get in the tub in the water
and
tower.
There's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the three girls were very good. Your brothers must have liked Petticoat.
They liked Petticoat Junction. Yeah, and I figured out about The Price is Right years later too. That's why.
Yeah, her brothers were around the make.
There was nothing, no eye candy for me to stay home for back then. I didn't care about that shit. I was just a kid.
If they brought this back, they should have like the opening episode. Like if they do a modern day version of this now, I'd like the opening episode to be where they go back time in to London and try to stop Jack the Ripper.
I know. What was that? It was Time After Time. Wasn't they did that? I watched. You know the movie I'm talking about. Not where he goes back, but Jules Verne ends up with Mary Steenburgen in our time, and then he's trying to get Jack the Ripper steals his time machine.
Time machine. Yeah.
Going, oh shit,
that's
man!
Time
After
sucks. Time.
Yeah, that's such a good movie. I love that movie.
Yeah.
That's something I got to look for. You've
never seen it? You got to watch it. You'll like it.
I saw part of it a long time ago.
Oh, you should finish watching it.
Yeah.
And remember to watch Freddy versus Jason too.
Which one?
What's this?
I said, remember, Tom, you got to watch Freddy versus Jason too.
Oh,
you have to watch Freddy versus Jason. You just
I gotta watch.
He gets in his head and fucks with him and everything. It's awesome. You know what? I might just really. I might watch it myself.
Jason.
Yeah, I own the DVD.
I haven't seen it in so long. Jason X is worth the shot.
Yes. We got to get Tom.
It's so ridiculous, though. It's so ridiculous.
Jason in space, Tom. Jason in space.
And he's meaner. It's sort of like Alien. You're just fucked. You are stuck up there with this summit. You ain't going nowhere.
Who needs a camping trip? Just go into space.
Yeah.
Is there anything you folks want to add before we go?
Nope. I got it all, I think.
Tom?
So, I'm sorry?
I said, Tom, is there anything you want to add before we go?
No, I'm good. I'm just looking for the next episode, which I almost have found. Yes, the next episode is One Way to the Moon.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll be looking at next time. And now I just have to find you guys again.
We're here. We didn't go anywhere.
I know you didn't go anywhere. Just my computer went somewhere. There it is. Okay, there we go. So
I got time to watch the monkey.
One Way to the Moon.
Yeah.
When do you want to do time? Anybody else have anything to say?
No. Anybody gonna watch anything good tonight?
Was it?
Yeah. Yes, I'm gonna watch. As soon as my kids go to bed, I'm watching Vampire Hunter D and Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust.
Oh, look at you. Definitely put the kids to bed before that. That's
I got them on Blu-ray. They're nice. When do you guys want to do
Vampire on the Beach?
No, Vampire Hunter D and Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust.
Vampiros Lesbos.
Oh, Vampire Hunter.
Those guys, that's got what people in puberty usually watch. My brothers couldn't stop watching Vampires of Lesbos.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
When do you guys want to do the next episode?
Sunday's good for me.
Sunday? Okay.
Sunday at 8.
All right.
Are we good?
Okay, boys, y'all be good.
Link to the Literary License podcast will be in the description box. There'll also be a link to where a survivor of the Titanic did an interview in the description box. That's Vickie Ray. That's Tom Diamond. You folks have a safe night.
Bye, guys.
Night all.
Bye.
Take care.
You too.
Good night.